It's a stupid question, but what's the proper way to break down?
I think you'd rather break down at services like our friend over here. Um, if you're going to break down, make sure it's somewhere safe. Ideally, don't break down at all. So we could ask the question, how do we avoid breaking down?
Okay, Mike, how do we avoid breaking down?
It's impossible to 100% remove the chance of a breakdown. Let's let this go through. In what I'm doing currently with NHS, there's so much auditing of process, standard operating procedures, your SOP for doing this, that and the other. We don't do any of that for a car, but perhaps we need to put a little bit of that into what we do. So that what we mentioned earlier in the advanced drivers, the power check, which they like to use that acronym. It's very easy to remember.
What's a power check?
A power check, it was always petrol, oil, water, electrics, rubber. What does that really mean? Well, petrol, clearly we could now have diesel or electric or whatever. Ensure you've got the motive force to take you the distance you want to go. Oil, make sure the thing's lubricated, make sure the fluids are right in the vehicle. So that is the brake fluid and engine oil, clutch fluid. Water, that's your screen wash, that's your coolant. Electrics, that's your lights, that's your indicators, that's the general. You power up, you get the check panel, half of those lights should go out. Then when you fully start the vehicle, nearly all of the rest of the lights will go out, apart from the handbrake or parking brake. Finally is the rubber check. The rubber check is, have you got 4 tyres, inflated, looking about right, with enough tread to do what you need to do it, not just 1.6 mil across the centre, 75% as required by law, but enough for the journey. In the winter, maybe you've got winter tyres on. The condition of the tyre should be good. Any little feel that you get in the car before and little wobbles, be aware of it. Tyres go down, so have a check round. So all the guys here parked up currently in the Motorways services here. When you return to the vehicle, walking around the vehicle to get in it, it's a standard check from a tactical perspective, but from a normal driving perspective, just walk around, yeah, good, fine. At least you're giving it a little visual check before you set on your way. The last part of the rubber check is not just the tyres, but it's actually also the wipers. So if you see a bit of rubber falling off the wiper, peeling a little bit, it starts raining. Things always fail when you need them, funnily enough. Lights always fail in the dark, wipers always fail when it's raining, funnily enough. It's like a truism, but it's worth a check. But going back again, the power check, it takes 10 minutes to explain, I'm sorry if I've bored you, but it takes about, the walk round can be done in 20 seconds. So every time you get in the vehicle, there's like a 20-second check. Daily, we can do the lights. Weekly, we can do the fluids check. We can't don't ask everybody to do things that they're not really going to do in real life. So don't put unrealistic goals. It's like trying to lose weight and thinking, I'm going to lose 5 kilos a week. It's just not going to work. Put into place checks that make sense, that are actually going to work. The walk round check as you get in is a great check and will probably sort out half of the stops on the road.
So, Mike, one of the things that you driving instructors like to tell people is to drive within the distance you can see to be clear. How do people do that in the real world, and what does it really mean?
Okay, so that's probably the most useful, most important line that's in roadcraft. Yeah, stop in the distance you can see to be clear on your side of the road. So basically it means you've got enough space in front of you that should anything occur to the vehicle ahead, you can stop, because you've got enough distance to do that, no matter whether the vehicle stops slowly or extremely abruptly or almost drives into a concrete block. Basically it means just be able to bring the vehicle to a stop in that space that you know you've always got. So you've got to manage the space in front of you so that as your speed increases, your safe distance increases in front of you. The rule is to have double that distance if you're on a one-track road. So if a vehicle came around the corner, they've got the equivalent problem coming towards you because they've got to stop and you've got to stop. So you've got double that distance required. So where you might be able to do 45, you're now going to do, say, 30. Supra, we don't like that. It's very fussy. So yeah, it's a simple rule, as in, as you go faster, you need to be able to stop the vehicle in that space you've got. It's about knowing your vehicle as well. And it's about being able to operate the vehicle. It's one of the key critical skills to driving, stopping. And it's the reason why on every single one of our skills days that we run, the very first exercise we do is a stopping exercise. and even the guys who've attended a dozen or more of the events, we do it with them, and the more they do it, the more they realise how important it is. You'd think they get bored of it, but they realise how key a skill it is, and a couple of the guys have employed that skill in the real world, and it saves them. What is good space when you're driving a motorway? Well, here we've got good vision ahead, we've got enough gap between us and the vehicle ahead, and indeed the vehicle behind, to afford us some options, should we require them. If we were to close up the distances, and put the vehicle at the distance the vehicle ahead is from the one ahead of it, to me it starts to feel less and less comfortable. We're losing the vision of the road ahead. As we get closer, the angle of the width of that van, the angle it subtends to us, means that it's taking more and more of our vision off us. So now we've got very, very little vision. Not a good place to be at all. We can see very little, and we are now relying truly on the VW for what is ahead of it. We don't have that knowledge. Just by letting the vehicle distance increase, even a relatively small amount, affords us so much more vision. We see the signs, we see the lorry ahead, we see the up on lane 1 that is either going to stay in that lane or pull out. We've got space next to us in lane 3. I'm actually going to take lane 1 here because we're going to take the Warrington West turn off. Nothing to our left, nothing to our insides. Drop the vehicle in. Actually, no need to steer a vehicle when you change lanes on the motorway, which is a very, very odd sentence, but it's something that we teach. No need to disturb a vehicle unnecessarily at higher speeds. As vehicles pass us, as we're coming into an exit, we always look into lanes 2, 3 and 4 to see the odd person that's going to suddenly decide they're in the wrong place and want to go a different way. And we've all seen that before, and we'll see it again. Okay, so again, we see how the vehicle, the Astra behind the van, minimal vision of observation. We've got a good view of all those vehicles. We are doing my favourite expression of being the audience and there being the play.
Sorry, the audience in the play?
The audience in the play, it's an expression I use on probably every single driving training session I do. So rather than be part of the play, an actor in it, you're more of the director, you observe it, or you're the audience being entertained by it. Don't be involved in it, let it entertain you. Could be a tragedy, could be a comedy. Even here where the lorry could pull into the up. Don't get involved in it, delay the vehicle slightly so that if they were to do something untoward, it's not going to affect us. So at any time a vehicle can put itself somewhere else, don't be in its blind spot or even in the sort of crash area, crash zone, where that could occur. Give yourself a bit of an option.
One of the common things that people say is you should keep about 2 seconds between you and the vehicle in front. Is that still relevant today, and is it good enough? Is 2 seconds actually good enough?
2 seconds gives a guide, a reasonable guide that makes sense to people. So how do you apply it? You see the vehicle ahead passing a point, you count 1, 2. If you've reached that point before you finished, you're too close. If you haven't reached that point yet, then you're at a good distance. You apply that on good roads, good conditions. If the conditions are less than ideal, if it's icy, you need a considerably more distance than that. You could say 10 seconds on an icy road, which is a special situation. But it gives you a starting point. It gives you somewhere to start from. And if you apply that, if you're even thinking about that, then you've got to be on the right track. So the moment you start to think and question, that's a great place to be. Bottom line, there are no definite you must do this and you must do this and that and what have you. It's being thoughtful and giving some thought to something that could happen before it happens. That's the key. Don't have to start thinking for the first time when something not good happens, because your brain's not going to be in a good place for that. Hence the reason we were talking about looking for refuge points on the motorway earlier in the section. Give something a little bit of thought. As a final example to that, if you're sitting somewhere at home in an office, you imagine somewhere catching fire right now. How would you get out? It's one of the key skills that they do in Special Forces, guys, is visualization. Visualize a bad situation, visualize how you would deal with it. It's a really safe way of training, and actually the mental training is 2/3 of the exercise. And it's as cheap as chips. In fact, it's cheaper than chips because it costs nothing.
Thank you very much, Mike.
You're welcome.
So, if you'd like to take part in what you've just seen, why not visit us at driveattrition.com, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.
If my car costs £200,000, do I need to be doing these checks?
Maybe you've got somebody else to do them if you can afford a £200,000 car, which is that'd be quite nice.